Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first edition of Think, our online seminar series. I'm Pete and I'll be your host for today's exciting session. Today, we are going to talk about a critical and timely topic, Southeast Asia in the era of AI, how AI is transforming economies and driving impacts. We are here to explore how AI is shaping the future of Southeast Asia and driving innovations. And yeah, we are excited to welcome Mr. Niek Van Veen, Head of Growth and Strategy at Thinking Machines Data Science. As a leading expert of AI and a key figure in Southeast Asia's data technology landscape, Mr. Niek will share his invaluable insights on how AI is transforming our region. And at the end of the session, we will welcome Kunmuk or Miss Promphorn Thaitiraviwat, country manager also from Thinking Machines Data Science, who will discuss an exciting initiative for corporations interested in deepening their understanding of AI and data. Before we dive in, I encourage you to participate actively. Feel free to submit your questions through the chat throughout the presentation. We will have a Q&A session towards the end where Mr. Niek and Kunmuk will address your queries. So, without further ado, let's dive in. I'm delighted to hand over the stage to Mr. Niek. Please welcome Mr. Niek to the panel.
Hi everyone. Good evening. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks so much for organizing this event and inviting us to speak about the exciting topic of AI and what is happening in this space. Hold on while I'm trying to get to make sure that I share the right screen. View. Okay, and slide share. Okay, I hope that you can see my screen. So in the next 30 minutes or so, I would like to take you through what we see is happening in the space of AI and analytics, and how it's transforming the economies and driving impacts across Southeast Asia and Thailand. A lot is happening in this space right now. So what I want to share with you is not only some of the concepts that are underpinning AI, but really also give some practical case studies and examples of companies across Southeast Asia and in Thailand that are implementing AI technology right now as we speak. To give you an idea about who we are as Thinking Machines, we are a data technology consultancy, and we are specialized in developing AI and data solutions to deliver impact. We have been around for almost 10 years now, and we have offices in Bangkok. So Mook is leading our Bangkok office, Singapore, and the Philippines. And we're really specialized in guiding companies through their data and AI transformation journey. 10 years ago, it was a very different landscape. Like lots of things have happened. Nowadays, like lots of companies, we see a very strong interest across a wide variety of companies in data and technology and AI transformation. So in Thailand, we work with the likes of Thai Oil, GC, the Thai Stock Exchange, also UNDP. Across the wider Asian region, we work with enterprises as well as corporate and smaller organizations like startups. What we have seen over the years as we worked in this space, and 10 years ago, we really had to sit down and explain to organizations why they should even care about data and AI. Nowadays, we get calls from CEOs to invite us to their boardrooms to tell how AI is going to transform the businesses. So lots have changed in those years that we have been working on AI technology. I think there are two key drivers that have really accelerated things, and we see that across Southeast Asia, including Thailand. So one is the kind of accelerated drive towards digital transformation, especially driven by COVID pandemic. So companies really started investing heavily in fully automating and creating digital infrastructure and applications, which in return created lots of data, and they wanted to be making sure that they use their resources more efficiently. In last year, a lot of the interest has been driven, and maybe that's even been more important for generative AI and for AI in general, has been the launch of generative AI. So ChatGPT launched in November 2022. And I recall the whole first half of 2023, we could receive calls across Southeast Asia. So in Thailand as well, I know that Mook has spent like lots of meetings with CEOs and boardrooms, just talking about this. What does that mean for organizations? How will Gen AI potentially disrupt businesses? And we have seen at a tremendous speed that from workshops and discussions in boardrooms at the first half of 2023 to initial POCs and pilots in the second half of 2023 and early 2024 to actually seeing live production grade Gen AI tools being deployed. And that's incredibly fast and faster than I've seen in my career, like this general adoption and excitement about generative AI. So I think like lots of exciting things that are happening. I'm very excited to share more about these trends and the underlying technology. I think the final thing that I want to address here on what is driving this now, and especially in the current economic climate, we see lots of organizations being really laser focused on business impacts and value that's being generated. So we see that more than so in the past, that companies are looking at measurable efficiency gains or revenue uplifts, and CEOs expect a very compelling, and CFOs in particular, a very compelling business case before they start investing in this technology. So what is AI? Just address a misconception when people hear AI. So many think about like Hollywood's depiction of AI, like Terminator, or her, like sentient robots taking over the world. Just to ease your minds, in reality, we are very far from that scenario. Like the AI that we see today is super powerful, but it's really designed to assist and augment human capabilities and not replace humans. And so it's quite important to distinguish the AI that you might see in movies versus the practical applications. And the truth is, like the AI that we use today is really part of an analytics continuum. So anyone who has been in the analytics space for a while is very familiar with this line from going from descriptive analytics, diagnostic types of analytics, to the use cases powered by machine learning and AI, like predictive and predictive analytics. So when we move past that dotted line, we're getting into the territorium of AI and machine learning. And the cool thing about the world of descriptive analytics, let me start with that, and diagnostic analytics. That type of analytics has been around for forever, right? Like as long as there's been spreadsheets, and one of the first writing in the world were actually tabular formats of reports of transactions. And these reports and that type of analytics is really done by humans for humans. So it's human analysts that create these reports, and it's consumed by human decision makers. What we now see in this space of machine learning and AI, and really what AI and machine learning can do, it's using algorithms to detect tiny pieces of signals and detecting patterns in large amounts of data. And there, the model is changing that. The analysis is definitely not done by humans, but by machines. But even the output is not necessarily generated or produced for human consumption. But a lot of the machines or the decisions that are powered are feeding into autonomous systems or other kind of autonomous decision making. So it's like think like chatbots, for example, or other automated systems. So it's quite different today versus traditional descriptive analytics. And many of you, maybe without even realizing it, are using this form of analytics, either the descriptive one versus the predictive and prescriptive analytics. You can actually find it in interfaces that you're very familiar with on a day-to-day basis. I'll give you one example here. I know Bangkok travel is well, equally horrendous as it is in Manila, where I live personally. And so I'm sure that many of you using these direction applications like Waze or Google Maps or something similar on a daily basis. And when you use these apps, actually you will use all forms of analytics in one go. So on the left-hand side, you can actually see in real time the traffic conditions on the route that you're interested in. So not only if there's heavy traffic, but also if there's any alert. So that is purely descriptive analytics. But then in the middle image, you can start planning your travel. And you can see the predicted travel time based on the time of day. So that's the predictive type. And then the last image is, this is where, in this case, Waze is recommending a route for me to get me to my destination. They actually find alternative routes as well. So that's what we call prescriptive analytics. So how does that then feed into this world of AI? So, and there are many definitions of AI. A very basic one is that AI are computer systems that are there to mimic human intelligence and problem solving and reasoning skills. A more formal definition is around machine-based systems that can giving very explicit or implicit objectives, so not sentient beings, and being able to infer and generate outputs such as predictions or recommendations or any kind of decisions that it's making. And that has been around for actually a really long time, so for more than 30 years. But in the past 10 years, AI and machine learning has really gotten a boost because of digital transformation, more data, cheaper data storage, and increased computing power to really be able to drive more complex models. A lot of the type of work that we used to do in this space would be what we call machine learning. So machine learning is really good at detecting patterns in these data to make either predictions or prescribe or make a recommendation for things like upsell, cross-sell, fraud detection. So what you will have heard a lot about in the last year is this area around generative AI. So that's all about creating new content, and that's super exciting, right? Like where the previous model was around making a prediction with data, now with generative AI, it can actually create text and music and audio files, and that is very revolutionary. And one of the things, besides that it can create new content, it's also the way you can interact with it, because you can interact with these tools in a very conversational manner. So you don't need to know any code. You don't even need to train your own Gen AI model. Like all the big tech companies have their own Gen AI model that you can access through an API. You just need to give it some guardrails to work with, because there are a couple of things. So while this is very exciting and very revolutionizing, and we see it in the way we work within our company in terms of what it can do in terms of productivity, as well as unlocking new use cases. Couple of things that you need to be aware of. So one is things like bias and fairness. So these generative AI models, they are trained like just as any AI model, to be honest. They can amplify biases that will be in the data. So like, give an example of if your job application data might suggest fewer qualified females for engineering jobs, then if you're going to train an AI model, then we'll probably detect that pattern, and it will then recommend, therefore, also less females for future technical roles. The second thing, and that's more specific to generative AI rather than general AI, is hallucination. I'm sure you heard about that. So in many cases, generative AI can produce outputs that seem very plausible, but are actually entirely fabricated and not accurate. And the last one is data privacy and security. I think, like in the past, what is really important is garbage in, garbage out. So not just hallucination, but also in a business context, giving an AI model the right instructions is really important to limit the issue that you might find with biases, data privacy, and hallucination. The most important thing that I tell clients, and it is not as sexy, but the best thing that they can invest in is good data governance and good data management. So that's a little side pitch on that. Gen AI tools are great. How I like to think about it is like an intelligent freelancer or a recently graduated MBA student, right? So like they are really, really smart, but they don't know anything about the real world. They don't know anything about your business or your objectives. So you need to give them context, and you need to give them direction, and you need to be truly effective. You need to teach them on by providing this detailed information, and then you can tune them based on your objectives. Like some ways you can do that. Like one example is, which is actually really cool, is you can train a generative AI system on how rigid or creative you want to be through a process called like a temperature hyperparameter. And that controls the randomness of the model output in generating new text. So, and especially in a business context, and especially, for example, when a Gen AI tool is used for frontliners, consistency and predictability is really key, right? So you want to make sure that you have a low temperature setting so that when a customer service chatbot for a bank addresses a frequently asked question, that it provides a very consistent and accurate answer about like a customer balance, for example, or about the interest rates on certain loans and other loan terms. So in those cases, you actually don't want a generative AI model too creative, and you set a very low temperature setting and make it more predictable. In other cases, you want it to be extremely creative, right? So if you need the generative AI tool to be like an idea generator, right? Like you're developing different concepts. In that case, you really want it to be creative and spill out as many creative concepts as possible. What is great about it, generative AI, and that is again different from the traditional data analytics and machine learning that we've seen in the past, is that it therefore is going to be integrated and is being integrated directly into business processes and across all business processes, from frontline, operational, and shared services and support services. The data in itself is no longer the domain of just a functional domain separated from the rest of the business. We see that AI and generative AI, because it's no code, can actually be adopted directly with the end users and the end systems in place. And I think that that's one of the reasons that makes it so powerful, and we see such a fast adoption across the globe. In a recent study that I wanted to share some numbers among executives. This was a Deloitte study done at the beginning of this year, late last year. And a couple of things that they found in that study. So it was among thousands of business executives across the globe, including Southeast Asia, like Thailand and the Philippines and Singapore. Everyone, or like 80% of the business executives, thought that Gen AI would have a major transformative impact on their organization within the next 3 years. And then predominantly, like just over half, mainly saw productivity gains and efficiency gains as the key benefit for generative AI. Where you could argue, and where I've seen also in terms of quality, it can actually really elevate performance as well. But the biggest challenge that the executives saw across for their organization is two things. So like coming back to this element of data governance, data management. So they felt that the organization might be not fully prepared in terms of data governance and data maturity or data readiness and talent readiness. And I think that those are super critical elements for any success in Gen AI adoption. I spoke recently to a CEO of a large bank in the Philippines, and he actually had invested in Copilot for a large portion of his team, in the hope that they would use it to increase their personal productivity. This was a frontline team. And after 3 months, he came back and he actually realized that the tool was not being used at all. And it was really because what lacked was a use case that they could implement and proper training and support in helping with adoption. So getting your organization prepared and having good use cases is absolutely critical to make sure that it doesn't just become another technology that generates a lot of hype but doesn't live up to expectations. Because we see that when implemented well, making sure that you spend a lot of time. When we work with our clients, we spend a lot of time on the data and making sure that the output that is being generated by the generative AI tools is really fit for purpose and accurate. And then we spend a lot of time with the end users. So while we develop, we talk to the end users and make them really part of the delivery process. And then when it comes down to implementation and change management, we help the organizations to make sure that the tools that we developed are actually implemented and fully integrated in their day-to-day operations as well. And that's where we see the impact. The impact is really about augmented intelligence. So it's not about like Terminator scenarios, right, where robots will fully replace humans, but it's humans being enhanced by AI. And we see generative AI in particular has this can be very powerful in improving creativity, productivity, decision making. Because what it in a generative AI application can do is, in effect, bring together the three major tenets or assets of your business. One is all the data that you are generating and maybe the models that you already have in place as an organization. But then combine it with all your internal policy, procurement, marketing, all the unstructured documents that you have, and it will be able to filter through that. And I think the last part is like when creating the guardrails and the parameters for the model is getting all the insights from your company's leadership and top performance. So when we implement a Gen AI chatbot application, we interview all the top sales performance and company sales leadership to get all the best practices integrated in a Gen AI sales application. So through generative AI, you can really create the DNA of the company and the company superstars, and then pass it on to your new recruits so that they can also learn the trade. The impact that we see for Gen AI is really three major areas. So one is growth enablement. So think about, I just gave that example about a generative AI sales assistant or sales chatbot. We have been working with a number of clients in this space, and the results are really super promising. The other one is productivity increase, especially for developers. So internally, we already see 40% increase and more in some cases in terms of productivity and efficiency of our developers through assisted coding in particular. And then lastly, customer service efficiency. So we have seen some early case studies, and I will also present a case study of a company that we work with ourselves that confirms this kind of customer service efficiency gains. So let me go to that to share some case studies and bring it to life, the impact that we see of the early adopters in this space. And before I go there, I like you to think again how generative AI is truly transformative for your entire business and operating model. So it doesn't just enhance personal productivity, and it doesn't just transform individual business processes, but I think that the implication can be much wider. Having said that, I would say like dare to dream big, but start small. So with that, let me give you some examples then of companies that we work with in enhancing any of these areas of a company's business model. So one of the first company that I want to share with you is a marketing company or a distributor, Focus Global. They operate 30 global brands like Philips and KitchenAid across Southeast Asia. But they actually have quite a lean customer success team that handles thousands of customer queries across multiple brands and coming from multiple channels like email, their web app, Line, Fiber. And what we created is a generative AI chat tool that is not direct to consumer, but for their customer care team specifically. And so it was helping the agents in producing and solving customer queries faster and giving relevant information. And through the application that we built for them, after 3 months of testing, they found that the generative AI solution was actually the first stat that I want to share is that 50% of all the customer queries could be answered directly by the generative AI tool. So it did not require any further human intervention. The only thing that we implemented was a human in the loop validation. So a human would review the reply generated by the Gen AI customer care agent and then hit submit. So 50% didn't require anything else. 40% still needed some handling of the inbound agents, but they could do it much faster. Let me see if this works. I have a little demo. Let me see if I can reduce the playback speed here. So you can see that, so there's an application that was used by the customer care agents where all the different customer care channels would come in from Line, email, web app, etc. And on the right-hand side, they could see the requests. So the application would triage all the different requests that would come in. They would summarize it so they could tell the customer sentiments, the summary of the complaint or the request, and it would catch up on all the context and evaluate all the customer requests and would start prioritizing the requests as well. And then the last thing that it would do is generate customer replies. So the AI engine would already generate a suggestion that would then be reviewed by the agents, and if it was all right, it would send it out. The best thing, because they were carrying so many brands and customer care agents need to be familiar with all these brands, it would provide links. So based on the requests or the query that would come in, it would already start providing the links to all the relevant documents, so that if the customer care agent needs to do some further research, it could do it right there and then. I think this is roughly the same demo as well. So where you can see all the responses coming in. So I will pause here and move to my next case study. So summarizing here, an integrated augmented intelligence application for customer care agents. For the agents, so this is actually the Thai Stock Exchange. Super interesting project where we help them in their create operational efficiency. Their challenge was that their analyst, with all the 850 companies listed on the Thai Stock Exchange, need to and they would submit all kinds of documents like financial reports, quarterly reports, information on from board resolutions, etc. And all that processing of this data is super manual and could take days to complete. We developed an integrated tool that was able to automate financial statement analysis using a variety of AI applications like computer vision, text categorization, and as an interface layer, generative AI to analyze and extract relevant figures from financial documents. And again, the good thing is here as well, what we designed into the application is a human in the loop validation framework. The application itself, we managed to create 84% plus model accuracy on extracting data points from all these files. And anyone who has tried to do this will tell you that that's actually very impressive. And what it really helped was reducing the time to get just access to this data. And the cool thing is that it actually can transform a business model as well, because now all this data will be available and could actually be made accessible again to the public. I wanted to show you how the human feedback in the loop process worked. So we would have the AI model. So actually, we would have a whole range of AI models working together that extracts these data points from the text, would feed it into a data warehouse, but then it would go to a human analyst still to preview the data and to make sure that the data is accurate. And so what it did was the analysts, they were reviewing, annotating the output of the AI, so to correct it back in a database in a separate column. And one is, of course, it improved the quality of the database itself, but it's also perfect input for retraining the AI model and make sure that it's even smarter in the future. The last example that I want to give you today is, and that talks about how humans and AI can work together to really improve efficiency, but also provide better quality of work, is a bank that we work with. This bank is in the Philippines, and their challenge was they had a very millions of transactions are made across ATMs every month, but their cash management workflows were very manual, and it made it very hard to reconcile transactions, detect fraud, or any other or errors that might happen. And so they had a team of analysts who did this work manually. And after a customer complaint, it could take up to 7 to 30 days to resolve a customer complaint and to have all the checks done. Of course, you can also imagine from a fraud point of view how painful it is if that a lot of the processing of the data is being done manually. So again, we built a cloud-based data and AI platform that helped the bank in detecting fraud and predicting which ATMs require repairs, but also to understand and to resolve customer queries or complaints. And through our platform, what we managed to do is 6 times faster transaction matching and validation of unmatched transactions. And what we also managed to do is redeploy some staff that were doing very manual work, but not necessarily adding a lot of value to higher value tasks as well. I will also show you quickly how that worked. So again, we had the data collection, transformation, anomaly detection process. All those things we managed to automate. What we did not want to automate, and where we wanted to make sure that there was a human element in the loop, is the process of approving and adjusting transactions in their systems. So that's could not be trusted, or we did not want to trust to a machine. There was always a human there to make the decision. So in addition to the underlying data platform and AI engine, what we also developed is a series of dashboards for the analysts in the team to very quickly get all the relevant information and help them with their decision making, so that they could just go through any of these reconciliation requests much faster. So all of these projects and implementations actually for the customer care application that we developed for the marketing company, that one we deployed in a matter of months. So the beauty about Gen AI with a relatively simple use case with not too much integration into the backend can actually happen really fast. These applications of what we did with the Thai Stock Exchange and East West, these are much larger, much more complex implementation, as we also start integrating to the customer backend databases as well. When we talk to our clients, and it really depends on where you are as an organization, your starting point, we always recommend to start small and find pilots of those areas in your business that where you see the most significant value creation in the shortest amount of time. And especially when you create these kind of AI applications for a business, it needs to be done with the end users firmly involved. This can't be a data organization initiative or an IT organization initiative. It really needs to be done together with the business, and it can't only be top down, so it can't just be mandated by management. As I said earlier, you can buy the technology. What it needs to be, how it needs to happen is design it bottoms up within your organization, so that you also make sure that you apply the right technology based on the use cases that you have. This is a framework that we like to use when thinking about creating this flywheel of AI, deploying and developing AI use cases. And it needs to start with understanding the needs and the business and the value that it can capture. You need to also have a very clear understanding of what is the right and relevant technology. So in some cases, we see that, so for example, around personal productivity, things like co-pilots are absolutely great. But in other cases, it actually, and especially when you want to integrate it with your internal workflows, something more custom might be much more appropriate. So I mentioned earlier the example of the CEO that came to us, where he had bought Gen AI Copilot applications for his team. Yeah, he found out there was no usage because what the tool has lacked was a proper understanding of the business context. So it could not be used by the sales organization other than some helping with write their email memos, but what they needed was something that could be much more custom and much more tailored to on how their sales process was actually working. So once you have these use cases and have defined what you need to build or buy and the pilots that you want to run, that's where the development and deployment comes in. And there's like a whole range of steps that we go through to make sure that when we work with clients, it actually extracts the appropriate information from your documents and from your backend and provide the right answers. So to get a generative AI work in your unique business setting, it's not plug and play yet at this point. And the last part is, of course, operationalization, making sure that it's actually being adopted and it's being monitored. You want to make sure that it's absolutely safe and ethical and gives accurate responses to your team. Just to conclude my talk for today, and I hope for a very lively discussion after, is a couple of pointers on how you can get started if you haven't already done so. So it's really about follow the value. So where are the pockets of value that generative AI can really make an impact? And I gave you some examples of the efficiency gains that we see, but also the quality of the responses that generative AI can create for businesses. So start actively exploring those use cases and look at the technologies available. The landscape is changing incredibly fast. Generative AI is being integrated into Salesforce, into like Microsoft, Google, AWS through Claude, all have their own flavor of generative AI. So know your technology. It's going to be important. And then start experimenting. So start with pilot projects and start developing from there. Needs to be coming from the top. We have seen that any transformation needs to come from the top. So we'll need to have very active C-level sponsorship here. The second thing that I can always recommend and is incredibly important is to achieve the impact that you're looking for. It requires business process transformation, so change management, but also cultural transformation. So you need to invest in your talent and making sure that they have the skills needed to like integrate this new technology into their day-to-day workflows. And the last thing that is, I mentioned it before, it's I would actually say if you do anything, this is the most important thing, invest in good data governance. So garbage in is garbage out, even in this new world. We see that data is moving from a resource of cost to an asset. I hope that compels you to invest in this. But to really maximize the value of your data, you need to ensure that your data is clean, timely, and accurate. And with that, I'm at the end now. So thank you so much for listening so far. And I'm looking forward to the discussion after.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nick, for the insightful session for today. We have learned what is AI and how AI can drive business growth in various business sectors, and also how can we as a human can get in loop of the AI and working together with AI. And also when you want to implement AI in organization, you have to dream big and start small, for example, small projects. And also you would need to invest in data governance to make sure that your data, existing data, are very quality and very good before implementing. So I think it's time to for everyone to have a question for today's session. If you have any question, please let us know on the comments. Okay. Think we have some question. If you have some question, maybe you can like turn on the microphone if you would like to. Okay, so Maybe I think I will start of my own question. So, Mr. Nick, what is the most challenging project that you have done? What would you think? What is the most challenging? Mhm.
Oh. Um, what is the most? That's a very good question. We have done many. I think one project that comes to mind. We did it a few years. Well, it was the first time that we did it a few years back, where a client wanted to survey an entire country um, to understand what to create a classification like in terms of wealth and social wealth profile. And historically, they would go to door and survey some people, and they said like that's not good enough because this was actually a telecom company, and they needed to roll out broadband across the entire country, and they wanted to know what kind of infrastructure should they roll out based on actually where people live and their ability to spend. And they said, can we do that in a faster way? And we tried different methodologies, and we ended up extracting from satellite imagery using AI, building footprints and information about road network, greenery, and we could use that extraction of information to make predictions on wealth that were really, really accurate. So like super high levels of accuracy, and a process that took potentially 7 years to complete by 100 analysts, we were able to reduce to less than 6 months using AI. So that was very challenging, very satisfying, and very transformative.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Nick. And yeah, we have one question from the chats from Mr. Suman. The question is, literacy on this topic is so important. There are so many people behaving as experts that the market is confused, especially SMEs. What can be some ways to identify a reliable partner or source of information for AI?
Um, what is important? The market is very fast. So what will always help, like their credentials, right? Like who have they worked with? And do they actually have experience, and can they showcase real implementations rather than POCs or pilots? There are plenty of POCs and pilots out there, but you want to have someone who has actual experience. If you gonna buy, so there are like plenty of SaaS solutions and co-pilots out there. I would say try before you buy. Essential. When you're gonna build is what you want to know is what kind of tech accelerators somebody brings to the table. Because especially when you come to model fine tuning, parameter setting, building the rack system, that's more challenging. And that's the kind of expertise that you should expect from any consultant that's going to help you with that. If you have a consultant that just asks you to, that does the technical coding, but still needs you to tell them exactly how the application needs to work, I think then you don't get optimal outcomes. So I think there, like look for a partner who can be consultative rather than a pure implementer.
Okay. One last question here from Miss Sarah. What are the key challenges specific to Asian developing countries? What are the key challenges?
Uh, um, well, there are. I think the and depending on the country where you're in, there are different challenges. So maybe I'll start with the general AI challenge. Is still data cleanliness. So I see that lots of organizations that we work with, they don't have their basic data systems in place. For example, we come in plenty of organizations where you ask for a data dictionary and do you have a consistent definition for what is a customer? How is revenue being recognized? You will see that that doesn't exist. So that's more specific to Asian or developing markets versus more mature markets. I still see talent is still an issue, although in recent years we've seen more data talent coming into the market, so that's a great thing. So organizations are training up and skilling up their own data scientists, machine learning experts. I would almost say that the one thing that is a challenge, I see so much investments on the data scientist side and maybe not enough on the engineering side. And equally important for having data analysts and data machine learning scientists is people that can put these models in production. So that's that talent might be lacking sometimes as well. I think the last and that is also due to this current economic climate is both leadership as well as willingness to spend. It differs per market. I would say in Thailand, actually, what we see is really an appetite to seek for productivity gains and spend on AI as a way to become more efficient. In other markets where there is where labor is relatively affordable, right? Sometimes it actually they prefer to maintain the labor-intensive processes because the business case is not as easy to make versus moving to a fully to a more digital process. So that's I think in developing markets for like a barrier to adoption as well.
Okay. Thank you for all the question. And also, if you have more question, you can send to us and we will reach back to you. So yeah, for the next session, we will have Kun Muk Prompornchai Jiraviwat, who will talk about an exciting initiative for corporations interested in deepening their understanding of AI and data. I'm delighted to hand over to the stage. Please welcome Kun Muk to the panel.
ใช่ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ and good evening everyone นะคะคุณ Pete can you go to the next slide yeah just sharing exciting news นะคะ we have just started an engagement with Rise to bring you one of the very excited and one of the insightful event called Corporate AI Transformation Program. It's a 4-week program where we bring all the expert people in the field that have worked on AI projects in big corporate like organizations, including the speaker that you see here. So Mr. Monchai from KBTG, Dr. Mai Titipat, Kun Thoi Kasidit, and Kun Napon Goff from the Visawakon Pet Facebook page, and also Kun Natapon, Kun Niu from PTTGC. So we will talk about how AI can transform your organization. Each of the 4 weeks will touch different topics about AI. So it's not just about generative AI, but like starting from the traditional AI model to the RPA, the automate process, and predictive AI forecasting models that the traditional models. And then of course we will touch a bit about the Gen AI, which is one of the key classes. For the Gen AI class, we will specifically focus on the marketing and the sales section. How do we use Gen AI to generate the content and also help you keep in touch with the customer through a new experience and unique way to engage with your customers. And then the last class, we will talk about the cloud data platforms, which is the foundation of the AI application in order for you to succeed on your AI project, you need to learn about those different technologies, the public cloud, the Azure, AWS, GCP, what are the differences? How do you pick your best data lake, data warehouse? So we will talk about that. And then at the end, we'll end with the framework on if you want to implement the AI project in your organization, what is the best way? How do you prioritize your projects? Or how do you measure the impact and value? So Nick already touched a bit on that in the talks just now, but we'll do a deep dive in the session for in these classes. So looking forward to have you joining us. But that's the class we prepare.
Okay, thank you, Kun Mook, for presenting the AI corporate course. We also have brochure in English, and we will send to you if you would like to. And yeah, thank you for joining us today and for your active participation in the Q&A session. A special thanks to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Niek from Veen, for providing such valuable insights into how AI is transforming our region. We also appreciate Kun Mook or Ms. Promporn Thai Jiraviwat for presenting the Interviewing Corporate AI course. If you would like to revisit today's session or share it with colleagues, we will be uploading the recording to our YouTube channel shortly. Stay tuned for the link. We also would love to hear your feedback on today's seminar. Please take a moment to fill out the feedback form as your input helps us improve and tailor future sessions to better meet your interests. Stay tuned for our next Think seminar, where we will continue to explore cutting-edge topics and bring you more expert insights. Follow us on Rise social media for updates on future events. Okay. Once again, thank you for being a part of this event. We hope to see you at the future seminars. Have a great evening. Goodbye and take care. สวัสดีครับ